A plan to end the war in Ukraine seems to be taking place. US and Ukraine seem to have reached an agreement on the core issues. Russia says talks are serious. Apart from the positives, all sides agree on one more thing. There's still some work to be done. Russia says it has seen the latest copy of a draft US plan and views some of it positively, but wants a discussion about the other parts. The Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov says the new draft required truly serious analysis and that Russia had not yet discussed it with anyone.
The document requires serious analysis indeed and serious discussion. Some moments might be seen positively, but many points require a special discussion between experts.
The plan has not yet been published, but President Donald Trump says that it was a fine-tuned version of an earlier 28-point plan that Kiev and Europe had rejected. He is sending officials to meet with both sides in the hopes of finalizing it. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet Russian President Putin in Moscow next week in a bid to finalize a plan, while U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll will meet the Ukrainian side. The original plan, widely criticized in Europe as heeding Moscow's demands, would have seen Ukraine withdraw from its eastern Donetsk region and the U.S. de facto recognize the Donetsk, Crimea, and Luhansk regions as Russian. Ukraine says it had reached an understanding with the U.S. and that the two sides had pared back some of the points Kiev disagreed with following talks in Geneva. It is not clear which points were removed and which remain, and deep differences remain in Russia and Ukraine's negotiating positions. U.S. officials are upbeat about the drive to end the war, even as they acknowledged key sticking points remained over the plan, but Ukraine's European allies have cautioned against conceding too much to Moscow. They drafted their own counter-proposal to the original plan, which Russia immediately smacked down. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen has warned that Russia showed no signs of really wanting to stop the fighting and iterated that Europe will keep supporting Ukraine and pressuring Russia until a just and lasting peace.
Any peace agreement is about creating a just and lasting peace. Peace that stops this conflict and does not sow the seeds for new future conflicts. And it is about ensuring a strong and sustainable security architecture for our continent, one that is underpinned by a strong Europe, a strong NATO, a strong transatlantic partnership, and that is what we will defend alongside Ukraine and our allies every step of the way.
EU's Foreign Chief Kaja Kallas has suggested that Russia's army and military budget should be curbed to make sure the war in Ukraine really ends. She added that any peace agreement needs to include concessions from the Russian side.
The notion that Ukraine is losing is also flat out false. If Russia could conquer Ukraine militarily, it would have already done so by now. Putin cannot achieve its goals on battlefield, so he will try to negotiate his way there. To secure the best outcome for Ukraine and Europe, we have to stay the course but pick up the pace. This means more sanctions to deprive Russia of the means to fight and more military and financial support to Ukraine.
As diplomatic efforts to end the war rumbled on, Ukraine reported another night of airstrikes. A Russian drone attack on the southern Ukrainian region of Zaporizhia overnight left more than a dozen wounded and damaged tens of homes.